Yes, this doctor, absolutely amazing, and I would highly recommend.
Yeah. Because I think that the sophistication of a lot of doctors, even if they are willing to help trans people, is probably not there.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, there's also cultural competency.
Yeah. So he's wonderful. Trans people confuse him a little bit, so that was a conversation.
So that's the cultural part.
And that's the cultural part. But he has no problem with trans people, and he is in fact doing his best to help me on my journey.
Excellent.
Once I explained what I wanted, because he was like, I don't care about your family history, I don't care about stuff like that. Like, it's important medically, but what I want to do is help you get to a point in your life where you feel better and you're doing better.
Yeah. Is this doctor an endocrinologist or just a
he's
general
a
practitioner?
OBGYN.
Okay, great.
And so he's awesome because he's through Mercy Hospitals in OKC. So I do travel to go see him, but it's worth the travel.
Yeah, it's a couple hours away, but but that's okay. Especially, it sounds like you're getting
I'm getting wonderful care.
Yeah, you're getting really good care.
And he has, if you were to look him up, he has outstanding reviews, because he's not, and I say pro-sterilization, and the fact that he won't make your life difficult to try to get the sterilization. He's not going to make sure you're married and have 10 kids and are over 30. He's going to look at your medical record. Is this medically necessary? Is this hormonally necessary? Like, does this benefit them?
And part of that medically necessary could also be being trans.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's because that was something he and I talked about, and he was like, outside of your PCOS, that's also a reason to get it.
Right. Also, so when I was younger, when was this? This was the early 90s. I had a friend, very, very good friend. He was an anarchist, and we lived in the same squat together. Yeah, I used to squat, whatever. Not such a great situation, but anyway, we did it. He was seeking the same thing, but from the AMAB point of view. So he wanted a vasectomy.
Yeah.
Very common procedure, but he was in his late 20s, and he had to go to many, many doctors to find anybody who would do that for him. And he had to completely convince them, like you're saying, go to a he had to go to a therapist for a little bit, and to convince them that this is actually what he wants to do with his life. He had no interest in procreating.
Yep.
And he had to convince these doctors that was his choice. He finally did get it done. He wanted me to actually be in the room with him. Aww. I declined.
That's fair.
But actually, I kind of regret declining. Actually, I think it would have been fascinating. For that side of things, even straight man,
it's
everything.
Not like that anymore. At
really?
least not in Oklahoma.
Really? You can get a vasectomy pretty easily?
Yeah, my husband is literally, all he has to do is tell our primary care, and she'll give him a recommendation and it'll get done. He'll have to, I think he has to watch like a 30-minute video.
Okay.
And then sign a piece of paper saying he consents and understands the video.
Okay. That's so interesting because
and I think
they're limiting abortion and AFAB female/female care at the same time.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is that vasectomies are considered reversible. Okay. They're reversible to an extent, but it's progressed from what it was.
Okay.
And so they're more readily accessible these days than sterilization for AFAB people.
It's wild. It's wild that anybody, but especially conservatives, especially like people who might call themselves quote unquote libertarian, there's real libertarians out there, but recently libertarians have turned very conservative. Would even, I
did not realize
the Libertarian Party is like the worst. It's the worst.
Okay.
Yeah, they're way off the deep end.
Unfortunate.
Oh yeah, way off the deep end. Anyway, these are the people who are like, the government is making me wear a mask, and there shouldn't be any mandates, but then they turn around and they want to mandate what other people
can do with their bodies.
Yeah. It's like, listen, please folks, listen to yourselves when you do these things,
Yeah.
you're talking out both sides of your mouth there.
You don't want to be forced to get a vaccine, but you want to force people to carry a whole nother
yeah.
entity in their body.
Yeah, even if they were raped.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what are we doing? It's I don't understand the time that we're living in, actually, because
it's very chaotic.
I feel like we woke up into a nightmare,
We've gone back years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we've gone
years
way back.
of progress.
We've gone way back. I mean, it was kind of going good, and, everybody was getting rights, and, just relax. People can have their rights and do what they want.
Let people live their lives.
And then, boom, it's just... And it's, and it really has nothing to do with trans people. Like, people say, oh, there's some groups out there, some gay groups, actually. But I'll say a lot of those people who are saying that they're gay in them are actually straight. There's a lot of straight people in those groups. Are saying it's because, if we... all those trans people, they're just being too wild. They want too much.
They just want to live their lives like every other person.
Having rights is not too much.
Yeah.
It's the basics. Rights are the basics. It's wild that we've gone backwards because people aren't ignorant. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's information. Anything you want to look up is on the internet.
Yeah.
So there's really no excuse to be ignorant.
And the whole they're from another generation excuse just doesn't fly anymore.
No, it doesn't.
There's no excuse.
No.
I have 2 different types of grandparents. I have one set of grandparents extremely accepting. They're from the exact same generation.
Yeah, right.
They were transphobic their whole lives. They were willing to educate themselves because somebody they loved came to them and bore themselves. My other grandparent, absolutely not. Wants nothing to do with it.
Wow.
It thinks it's predatory.
So, what is your relationship to them then?
There's not one.
There's not one.
There's not one.
Yeah.
I don't have a relationship to my parents.
Wow.
Because the nice grandparents who were willing to learn and work on bettering themselves, they raised my dad, but my dad doesn't have that same mentality. So generation is not an excuse.
Right, yeah.
And I will never accept that as an excuse.
No, it's not an excuse at all.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, the relationship that's good, that's with your, is it maternal or paternal grandparents?
Step paternal.
Okay, your step paternal grandparents. How did that evolve, I guess?
It started off very rocky, where it was just a lot of confusion because they had always been very openly against trans. They've never been against gay people or lesbians or anything like that, but just trans was too far for them. Yeah. And then I sat down and talked with them and was like, I love you guys very much, and I would love if you would stay a part of my life, but here's what I'm going through. Here are the struggles I face. Here's why it's not a choice for me. I wouldn't want to deal with these things if I didn't have to deal with these things.
Right.
And just kind of laying it out for them.
I think people think that it's like some kind of game that you're playing with them, that you're just trying to irritate them. It's like, no, your irritation is your own irritation,
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that we go through that is very unfortunate and has been very harmful. And I was in tears just explaining to them all the bad things that have happened and can happen.
Yeah.
And I think honestly that just helped open them up a little bit. Was this
over a period of time, or was it over a Thanksgiving meal?
It was over a period of time. I had set up a specific day to go out and see them and talk to them.
Okay.
And then that was hard. It didn't end great the first day. I got a call a couple weeks later after they had some time, because it's a lot to process. I understand that.
Right.
Because I didn't come out until my early 20s. So they had known me my whole growing up, because my mom was very controlling, to say in a nice way. Where I couldn't cut my hair, I had to dress a certain way.
Was religion involved with that?
No, surprisingly.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, surprisingly not religion. She's diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more along the abuse than a religion thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I've known a couple of narcissists, and they're hard to deal with.
Yeah, and
It's
so
a lot to, like,
they will
unpack in your
project
brain.
themselves onto you, so they want you to dress how they want to dress at your age. They want you to present yourself how they wanted to present themselves, because you are not your own person. You're a reflection of them.
Right.
Which is also why
They're very, very controlling.
they're very controlling.
Ooh, so controlling.
And so I couldn't cut my hair, and I was in JROCT. So
Wow.
having my hair was down almost to the back of my knees, and if you know anything about like military standards, junior ROCT still has you do the uniform standards. You still have to put all that hair on top of your head.
Okay.
They don't make exceptions just because your hair is down to the back of your knees.
Right.
And she refused to let me cut it. So that second year, my junior year, I cut my hair for the first time in like years. And by I cut my hair, I had a sleepover at one of my friends, and we took their buzzers to my hair.
Oh.
And I felt
just did it
1,000 times better.
Okay, you just did it.
I had very severe repercussions at home.
Oh, yeah.
That I won't go into detail on, but
yeah,
it was rough. That was just one of her big things, is you're not allowed to cut your hair.
Sure.
Unless I say you can cut your hair.
Yeah. I didn't have any prohibitions on cutting my hair, but I do remember getting a boy's haircut, and I think I even asked for a boy's haircut, you know? And then afterwards, what I got was a silence. That was often the treatment I got, was complete silence. Yeah.
Which that in itself is harmful.
Yeah.
Like, both spectrums of that are harmful. A reaction is harmful, and then, honestly, the absence of a reaction can be just as harmful, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Absence of parents, absence of anything.
Yeah. There's a candle over there.
Oh.
Buddy. Okay.
He's all right.
Okay, I was just making sure, because my dogs, they don't know what fire is,
Oh,
and
I
will
see.
stick their nose right on in it because it smells nice.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we've been around some campfires.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
but
just
he
making
hasn't
sure.
been. We were around cactus
Oh no.
pads and pokies for the first time a few days ago, but luckily he did not run into them or rub against them or anything.
I am very grateful for that. That poor baby.
They were big ones too, like an inch long. I was like, oh no.
Our cactus that I have at home stays outside on our patio.
These were growing outside.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Because my dogs, very sweet. Golden retrievers, the no thought in head is a very... That's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
She would, no hesitation.
They just
do
kind of
it.
go forward, you know. Happy. Ah.
Yeah. So it's a concern.
Yeah.
But
He's a little more cautious.
I'm glad.
But, you know. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But yeah, so like I had those restrictions not based off of religion, but based off of like a form of abuse.
Yes. Right.
And so,
well, sometimes people will mix religion and abuse too. Yeah,
but she was
totally.
raised religious,
Yeah.
and because of that, she was not religious.
Okay.
She's religious now, but she wasn't religious at the time.
Interesting.
It's very
So
interesting.
she had a backlash against religion, but
And
now
then
she
falls back into
okay.
it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And so
I did notice that religion was very important here. Like, there's a lot of big churches.
there sure is.
Yeah. And when I say big, I mean they're
like mega churches.
Yeah.
We have a lot of mega churches. Christianity
'cause
and Catholicism is huge here.
This city doesn't seem that big.
No.
Like,
It's pretty big.
Okay.
Takes about an hour to get sometimes depending on where you are. Yeah.
They're spread, but
Yeah.
in terms of population, it doesn't seem that big.
Oh yeah.
But then you have these lots of huge churches. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just amazed that because oftentimes these organizations, I'm just going to call it organization, require a lot of money and like a lot of resources. So
Not a problem here.
I'm surprised they're able to get that from this community.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And the ones here, we have a lot of like really pushy ones here.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of that.
Like right into your pocket kind of thing, or like pushing you politically?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Some of them have enough money to kind of like push, and that can be a real issue.
Okay.
We're a very red state, and
Yeah.
it is very much based off of like the religious
Yeah.
area here.
Yeah.
So-
Is it pretty obvious too? Like in
Oh.
some places it's less obvious.
No, it's very obvious. Everybody
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah,
Yeah, everyone knows here.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it's pretty terrible.
Yeah. So, would you say that you are irreligious or atheist or agnostic, or if you're religious or spiritual person? Where are you in that?
I'm spiritual.
Okay.
Yeah,
spiritual.
I practice witchcraft. And,
Okay,
but
great.
I am not Christian in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, yeah.
I was raised Southern Baptist by my dad, my bio dad, because he was foot washing Southern Baptist.
Okay. All
So,
right.
my mom was rebellious against religion, was always pretty okay with like my interest in like witchcraft, and my bio dad, if he had known, that would have been real bad.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
So that's cool. So even though your mom was a narcissist, she was okay with your being.
She believes in witchcraft, like
Okay.
so. Even
Okay.
even as like a Christian, she is
Okay.
now.
Okay.
She like still like kind of practices
so
witchcraft.
eclectic.
Yeah.
Okay. all
She's
right.
like, it's very. She's weird. She's
Okay.
a weird human.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I was like, it's a weird mix, but she's like a Christian witch.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
she's like super like into God and stuff, and really pushy about that, but also practices witchcraft.
So do you have a relationship with her then? No,
Not
okay.
anymore.
Okay.
That ended about 2 years ago.
Okay.
I was finally able to like
Yeah.
step away. It's very
Yeah,
hard
it
when
is
you're
hard.
raised by a narcissistic parent to get out from under that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to
They play
distance
games
yourself.
about you need to do this for me.
And when you and
owe
when
me
you
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
they make you feel like you owe them your life.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah.
And it's really hard.
Yeah. It's hard to untangle that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was me coming out about being trans, which was the stepping stone. It was her reaction to that, because her response was, "What about how I feel?
Yeah.
Why do I have to put my feelings aside
no.
for you?" And I was like, "We're done." And I got
Yeah.
up and I left, because that was the conversation. That was how that went. I was
Yeah.
like, I
That's
did
very
it on my
common.
birthday.
That's
too.
common actually. It's like people think that it has to do with them.
It has nothing to do with you.
No.
It's how I feel inside and
Yeah.
what is important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're sharing that with your mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
My stepdad, and while I said it, he is like very up against that kind of stuff. He tried. He made a little bit of an effort, but you know, narcissistic abusers don't just abuse their children; they
Right.
abuse their partners too. So,
Right.
a lot of that would have been me creating a wedge in their relationship, and so and her using him to get to me. So, when I stopped my relationship with her, I stopped my relationship with him just for
Yeah.
safety.
Right. Right.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. That's a lot. I'm amazed that you're in such good spirits actually.
A lot of that
what-
has to do with my partners.
Yeah, what does it yeah, tell me about that. And
So-
also you mentioned witchcraft, so is that also part of it? Like do you have a community that you do
I
that
don't
with?
have my partner. I
Okay.
do that with my partner. But I don't really have a community for witchcraft. We do actually have like a decent size. I say a decent size. We have a small sized community here. It's not like the worst thing. We have quite a few like really nice little shops with very wonderful humans in them.
Okay.
And then
So they sell some books and
and
ritual
supplies
stuff.
and stuff like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that. One lady in particular, her husband just had a stroke, but she's been a huge part of like pushing the community. She's like, she's older and she's deaf, but she's part of the disabled community
yeah.
too, on top
Yeah.
of like witchcraft stuff. And she's been very kind to me and has like helped me for a long time.
Okay. Yeah. Usually it's those little bookstores or
Yeah, it's a very tiny store.
I mean they're usually pretty small even in, bigger cities and blue places. They usually don't make too much money. It's more of a
this is her passion, and that's why she
Yes.
does it. She doesn't do it
Yes.
for the money.
No.
It's literally like her and her husband, which is
Yeah.
why they're like not
Yeah.
open right now.
Yeah, it's more like it's a community focal point and a place where people can get information.
Yes.
Yeah, that's been my experience.
Yeah.
I also find that as well with far leftist organizations like anarchist info shops and that sort of thing. It's kind of similar.
Yeah.
Like they're usually really small, volunteer run, and it's just a place where you can get information,
Yeah.
that's not available elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so she's been a huge help around with that kind of stuff and
Yeah.
that learning process
Yeah.
because I've been going to her shop since I was 16 years
Okay.
old. So,
All right.
she really
Cool.
like helped me along that journey.
Yeah, kind of almost an auntie, sounds
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So you also mentioned your partners. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So,
and you did mention polyamory earlier,
Yeah.
so you might want to define that.
yes.
Yeah.
So I have a husband and a partner. My partner is genderqueer or gender fluid. That's the one I was telling you about.
Yes.
She fluctuates, so I might refer to her as they or he
Okay.
because that's just like their preference.
Yeah.
But they are
Some people are just very interesting.
yeah, they're one of the people who also practice witchy stuff with
Okay,
me.
great.
So they're really cool. And then my husband was the first person I came out to as trans because we were friends, obviously before
Yeah.
before we were partners. And
you all live here, or
no,
okay?
yeah, you're all kind of spaced out.
Okay.
But I live with my husband, and then she's going to be moving in soon.
Okay.
She's not fully moved in yet, so
Okay.
we're still spaced out.
So
but
you're
not
working
quite.
on
Yes.
working towards that. Oh,
We're
okay.
working on that, and we're
Yeah.
working on getting into a house and out of an apartment.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I can imagine more space for you with your
Yes.
chair and yeah.
Yeah, and just on like not only on the trans front but on the disability front,
Yes.
they've been wonderful support.
Oh, great, great.
Absolutely amazing humans. And then, but my husband was the first person I came out to as being trans before we were even dating. So while we were just friends, I came out to him because he made me feel comfortable enough to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's bi, so
Yeah,
like that's
yeah.
never been an issue. I never had to like worry about that with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
His only concern ever has been is what I want to do, and then like if it's safe, like I want you to do it the safest way possible because I am disabled and
Yeah.
certain things affect other things.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it sounds like you have an extraordinary medical team behind
Yes.
you. So
now I didn't
good.
always, but I have.
did you have
finally-
to work to find that?
Yes.
Okay.
I've had to work very hard to
Yeah.
find doctors who will work with me, and
And what was that process like? Did you just talk to people with similar conditions or other trans people?
no, because I didn't know how to reach out.
Okay.
So that was really hard for me because I didn't know how to reach out to the community when I first came out. I was basically, it was me and my husband, and we were doing it on our own. He was helping me figure stuff out, but it was very difficult because I didn't even know we had a community here.
Okay.
And
And
so
but you grew up on the internet.
I did
so
grow up on the
You
internet.
just didn't
kind of.
do a lot of
Yeah.
research specific into
So
trans.
if I grew up on the internet, my generation grew up with the internet.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up on the
Oh, I
internet.
see. Oh, okay.
We grew up in a household where we would boil water for hot water.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So unless I was at school, which that kind of stuff was blacklisted on school websites. If it's not education related to what they think is educated related, it's not able to be seen on school websites. So I didn't have access to any of that. I didn't know I was ace until well into my 20s. I didn't know I was trans until
Okay.
into my 20s.
So it sounds like you were a bit isolated at home.
I was.
Okay. Yeah.
I
That's
didn't-
kind of a thing.
Yeah, I didn't get to have friends. It's
That's
just
kind
kind of
of a
how
thing with-
narcissists work.
with abuse. That they isolate. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah, my job was to be a parent to my brother. That was my life growing up, which is I have no regrets about. I am
Yeah.
I love my brother to
Yeah.
death, and
Yeah.
I'm happy he is where he is today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a good relationship with him?
I do. I have a really
Excellent.
good relationship
Excellent.
with him. He has always been supportive of me no matter what I'm
Wonderful.
doing.
Wonderful. As he should be.
Yeah.
As he should be.
Yeah. He's my kid brother. So,
Yeah.
but sorry, I've got to stretch.
No, it's fine.
Let's see. My partner, he was who kind of helped me figure out like what steps I needed to take medically, where we would go and look for, we would call around to doctors, and then finally he had read something because he grew up on the internet. So he found like a Reddit thread of like recommendations of stuff where we found that we found out we had an equality center here. The equality center got me into counseling.
Is that the name of it, by the way? The Equality Center?
Yeah, Tulsa
Okay.
Equality Center. Highly recommend it if anyone's in the Tulsa area. They are super helpful at getting you set up. They got me in with OSU counseling,
Okay.
which are extremely gender affirming.
And that is through a university?
Yeah, it's through a
Okay.
university here. They're super gender affirming. My counselor is non-binary.
Great.
I'm set up with a non-binary counselor.
All right.
They're not therapists.
Yes,
They can only work with surface one
Okay.
trauma, which
Okay.
means like they can do like gender affirming stuff. If you've had a bad day, we can talk about that. They can't do
Sure.
like childhood stuff.
Okay.
So that's important that if you're seeking care to keep that in mind.
Sure. But that's so excellent that you can go to a place. They're not only just affirming, which is, I mean, that's a huge hurdle.
Inclusive.
Like, inclusive and welcoming and stuff. But you even found somebody who is in the same kind of identity.
Yep.
Or similar. Yeah.
Yeah, and they helped me figure out what I needed to do to start hormones.
Oh, wow.
They were able to recommend the medical list where the sterilization stuff was. They were
Yeah.
how I found that TikTok. They were like, hey, I think you should check this out because you're wanting to get sterilized. They are helping me. I'm in the process of looking for a top surgeon.
Okay.
Which is very hard to do in Oklahoma. I would like
Yeah.
to point that out.
Yeah, a lot of people travel to the coast.
Yeah,
or-
their surgeon was out of state, but because I'm disabled, that's really hard.
Yes.
So we're trying to
And
find
then
a
there's
surgeon
the
here.
insurance coverage issue.
That's not it. Yeah, I
Okay.
was like, that's a huge issue for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been very,
I mean, if
very
you go
lucky.
out of state.
Yeah. Out of state, yes,
yeah.
that is an issue.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Because if it isn't in network or whatever,
Yeah.
then there's extra cost.
yes.
Yeah.
However, we're through Blue Cross Blue Shield, which has a huge network across
Right.
the U.S.
Yeah, yeah.
luckily.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful, and I realize how privileged I am to have that insurance
Yeah.
like we do.
Sure.
So that has made things
Yeah, it's a
absolutely
blessing.
1,000
That's
times
great.
better.
Yeah.
And so we're working on finding a top surgeon. So that's the process we're at right now. So they have been immensely helpful.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to recommend me to their surgeon, but their surgeon's out of state. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if there are other trans people here in Oklahoma who, maybe are a little bit more under the radar.
Yeah.
Who can give you some information like that. Yeah. Have you talked a lot with other trans people or non-binary people about this?
I've talked to a couple.
Yeah.
But the couple that I have talked to have gone out of state.
I see.
So
There's got to be somebody here.
there has to be.
Yeah.
We've have that group, and I joined the group not super long ago on
Yeah.
Facebook, and
Yeah.
so my plan is to here in like a week or so, when I'm feeling a little bit like less under the weather from chronic pain and stuff, to make a post on there and ask if anyone has recommendations in state.
Yeah.
So that's my plan with that now that I have like exposure.
Yeah.
And I have like an online community that I can reach out to.
Yeah. Speaking of that, why did you think it was a good idea to be here in my project? What attracted you?
I think educating people is super important,
Okay.
and everybody lives a different experience. So
Yeah.
I felt like you having as many people from different demographics and backgrounds
Yeah.
as possible would be beneficial.
Yeah. That's actually why I'm traveling, maybe to places that people wouldn't consider.
Yeah.
Like in red states.
Yeah,
Smaller
Oklahoma.
towns. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's cool. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, like politically, that's going on in the country or the state in particular? What you'd like to see kind of happen, like kind of ideally?
I would like to see a different governor in Oklahoma. Definitely. I would like us. I would like some kind of reform, but gonna be completely honest, I don't see that happening anytime soon. He just got reelected.
Yeah.
It's obvious that like not everyone's on the same page here, which is very unfortunate. Which is why I'm planning to move to to the Seattle area in Washington.
Okay. It's very expensive there, though.
I do. My husband has family there.
Okay, good.
Again, we're very privileged to have my husband and his family background.
Yeah.
He has family who are pretty well up in Microsoft to the point where one of them had met Barack Obama a couple of times.
Great.
So they're able to help us out in ways a lot of other people wouldn't be able to get help.
Yeah. And interestingly, when I was first coming out, I knew a bunch of trans women, and most all of them, probably about 80% of them that I knew worked at Microsoft.
Microsoft is super inclusive these days.
Yeah, well, this was in the 90s, and they were inclusive back then.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah.
And that's oftentimes why they stayed in those jobs instead of, going to another.
Else.
Yeah, because of that. And so, y'all, if you want, really loyal employees, think about hiring a trans or non-binary person,
And treating them well and using their pronouns.
Yeah, all that stuff. Give them benefits like healthcare, for instance.
Because they'll stay.
Yeah.
I'd stay.
They'll stay, and they'll do great work. Yeah. So what else? What else are you thinking about doing? Do you have?
I want to go to school. I haven't.
I noticed on your page you had the page I had access to. You had listed a bunch of hobbies and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So right now I'm an artist. It's actually not what I want to go to school for.
Okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
I want to go for architectural engineering.
Okay. Well, that's an extension of art.
Yeah, that's why I said kind of.
Yes.
I was like, it is, I can tell, but it's also very mathematical.
You're a graphic artist, but then you're also 3D. Like I noticed pottery. I noticed that because I am also a potter and a sculptor. So architectural engineering. So that's kind of the nexus of those two.
Yeah. So it is the design and eventually the production of like homes and buildings and stuff like that.
So, are you going to have a particular focus? Like
residential, I think.
Residential.
Residential homes. I love interior design, but I also love the actual like construction portion of like going from designing the blueprint to watching it be built and come to life.
Okay, so the whole thing. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely a lot of mathematics in there.
Yeah.
And then also, on top of that, you do have to be an artist. So,
so that's my eventual goal once we get settled in Seattle is to start pursuing that because I'd eventually like to open my own company and run my own.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And Seattle is probably good for that, too. There's a lot of things being renovated there. They don't have a lot of land to expand to, though.
They don't have a lot of land to expand to in Seattle.
Yes.
But Seattle is an hour from anywhere with land.
That's true.
So
that's true. There's
it's the nexus.
Issaquah, there's Marysville.
It's not that far from Tacoma or Aubrey.
Yeah.
Or Federal Way even.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You could do a lot of things out in the suburbs. That's true. So anything else besides a possible change in governor? Come on, Oklahoma.
Just healthcare to be more accessible to people who need it.
Yeah.
I don't think somebody who wants to be sterilized and has wanted that their whole life should have to work as hard as I had to do to find a doctor.
Yeah, right.
Because I have been looking for a doctor since I was 19 years old. And I am 25 and was just able to find one.
Wow.
And I have a date officially, which I'm very excited for.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
so you actually have that all set up and everything. Oh,
I do. And he's been wonderful.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, good. Yeah, so it sounds like a lot of things are falling into place with you, but not really falling into place. You really had to work for it.
Yeah, I've had to work for it, and it's all a process.
Yeah.
But things are looking up from what they were.
Yeah. And then you've had some relationships that have deepened and more understanding, and then there's been some loss. And then you are moving in, your family is getting tighter as well, your close immediate family with your partners. And then you also have some pets. Yes.
They're awesome.
So if y'all don't know, I do my sound checks about people's pets.
It's true.
Yes, it's kind of fun. Because it's kind of a neutral topic, and people like to talk about their pets. Yeah. Anything else you would like to say? This is probably a good place to end, but anything else you'd like to talk about?
I think I'm comfortable wrapping up here.
Okay.
I just want to thank you for this experience. It's been awesome being able to talk with you.
Yeah, I think that it was a little bit hard to schedule.
I apologize for that.
I was a little worried that we weren't going to have it, and I was like, oh no,
No, I just had a lot of doctor stuff today.
Oh yeah, I understand.
And I didn't realize that I had double scheduled myself. What the issue was.
Yeah. Sometimes I drive to places and then suddenly people will cancel, and I'm like, oh. I think they don't realize that like I'm of limited means.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you working on my time frame.
Oh yeah, no problem. I had nothing else to do today or tonight. Somebody did cancel earlier today, but that's all right. Yeah. So thank you so much for meeting with me. I know it's been a long day for you. Yeah.
It has.
Yeah. So and you're kind of carrying the banner here in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, in a very red state, a very conservative Christian state. So I feel like whatever you're doing it's some important activism.
This is the most activism I've ever done.
Yeah.
Just because I am disabled, so this is the kind of thing I can do.
Yeah. It is extremely important, though. I mean, you're educating doctors, for one thing, and just you being who you are, is a form of activism. I mean, it's absolutely true. Just existing and living your best life.
You're gonna make me cry.
No, but it's true. I mean, imagine all the pressure that you're under.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a hard place to live.
It is. But I'm getting through it, and things are looking up.
Yeah. I mean, goodness gracious, Seattle's going to be a breeze.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I mean, relatively, Yeah. You just have to put up with that little spitting rain that they have there.
Yeah.
That annoying rain. It'll be very different in terms of that. It's very dry here. Anyway, thank you so much for meeting with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. I love it that you defined all those terms for me, because I don't know them. I mean, I've heard them, but to hear them, what they mean to somebody in particular is different than just reading a definition.
And that's what I was trying to make sure that everyone knows terms are what you make them. They all of course they have a set definition. Yeah. But labels are there for you to describe yourself and for you to give yourself that comfort. They're not they're there for other people, but they're really there for you. Yeah. So. Yeah,
and sometimes the dictionary definitions don't
always line up.
Yeah, they don't always line up. Sometimes they're a little too sterile, too fixed,
And that's okay.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, English is a living language. We're changing it all the time. So, people complain about, there's all these new terms, but if people find them useful, then guess what? They're going to be used.
Yeah. It's very validating for some people and very protective for some people.
That's right.
And that's very important in our community.
That's right. It's a way to connect with other people as well.
It is.
Who are similar. Yeah. Or to find partners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need some of that. Anyway, all right. So hard to end these interviews.
It
I
is.
never know how to do it, but I'll do a little cut. Okay, good night. All right.
But yeah, that was good. I feel comfortable with that.